Everybody, and welcome to Nashua ETV and our broadcast of college wrestling, Daniel Webster College wrestling. This is our first ever broadcast of this, and we will tell you a little secret. We are doing something different tonight. We are not doing this live. We are sitting here right with you in our nice comfortable chairs, watching this as you are, because we want to introduce you to the sport of college wrestling. The only two programs, Daniel Webster versus Plymouth State College, the only two varsity programs in the state. And to educate you, who else better than the coach of Daniel Webster, John Archambault, who will critique his own players and his own wrestlers and how they performed, and also the man who knows everything about wrestling. I think he invented the sport, Joe LaPlante.
Far from that, Tom. But still good to be here with you and Coach Archambault.
Yeah,
thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. This is great, Coach. Tell me, you took over this program, started it from scratch a year ago. What was that like going through it?
It was a great challenge and opportunity that the school gave me to really build it from the ground up. And that is kind of in a literal sense too. We were given an empty building, and we just kept building and getting new mats here and there. And
did you do a lot of? I mean, you were hired probably a few months before the school year started, so in 2014. So it had to be a little bit of a struggle to put together a roster. How did you do that?
Correct. That first year, the 2014-15 season,
right.
I was hired a couple months before the school year started, so most responsible seniors in high school knew where they were going to be going to college.
Right.
And there was a lot of on-campus recruiting,
yep.
Finding kids that were interested, had big athletic builds to them, and looking to challenge themselves.
I was just going to say, did you walk around the campus and just point people out and say, I want to talk to him, I'm going to talk to him? Is that how you did it? Almost like cold calling for sales.
Almost, yep.
Right.
It was a little bit like that. Luckily, we had a couple of people that were already on the campus that had really great character and had built good relationships on campus, and they would kind of spread through word of mouth. And
Coach Archambault also did a lot of attending local tournament, not local tournaments.
I was just going to ask you that. The middle schools, the younger schools,
Oh, no,
else?
I'm talking about high school wrestling, in off-season tournaments all over the Northeast, as well as, so hitting those tournaments, recruiting just traditional the way any coach would,
right,
as well as attending, workouts for local wrestling clubs, off-season clubs. I know there's a club that I help run in Nashua, Gate City Wrestling, and Coach Archambault has been very supportive and shows up at a lot of practices. And I know he does it not only to give back to the sport, but also to recruit. That's part of the deal.
Have to do it. Now, Joe, what was the reaction from the clubs around town, and that there was actually
Excitement.
A college program were they aware of it, and what was their reaction?
Oh, they're very much aware of it because Coach Archambault made them aware of it by showing up at their meets and practices and off-season workouts, and you'll see that in the lineups today. There's several of these young men who wrestled local high school wrestling in the off-season clubs and met Coach Archambault that way, and now they're college students.
You're a college coach. You're a wrestling fan, a wrestling organizer.
Yeah.
Why are these the only two varsity college programs in the state of New Hampshire? John, what do you think?
Well, as much as Title IX is all about equality,
yes,
that the Title IX itself never had a direct impact on any sports. A lot of people say that's the reason why men's sports got cut, especially wrestling.
Right.
I think a lot of athletic departments decided to put their spending elsewhere, like on their football programs and other things like that, and decided to cut wrestling, which was unfortunate.
To equalize spending, Tom, of course, there's very few women's wrestling teams in the country. There's a few, but very few, and so it makes for a difficult equalization scenario. If you're going to add a wrestling team, you're going to add scholarships, athletic scholarships on women's sports, and anyway, here comes the national anthem, right?
Al St. Louis to sing our national anthem as he's working on his record.
Take your hat off, Tom.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed
Al St. Louis, and you see the crowd. It is a very good crowd here on a November Saturday night as this was being taped. We are sitting here, John Archibald, the head coach of Daniel Webster College. I'm Tom King, and with me also Joe LaPlante. And this, let's see, how many weight classes as I count here? I count, what, 10?
10.
10
yep.
weight classes. Now, high school, it was always 3 periods, 3 minutes each. Is that correct?
No.
Per match?
Three period, 2 minutes each.
2 minutes each. Okay, I looked at the 3. So in college, is it 3 periods, 3 minutes each?
No, they added only 1 minute. So the first period's 3 minutes, and then the second, third period are 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Oh, okay, all right.
Believe me, that's enough. That's enough.
And that's how we go for college. And we're going to start out at 125 pounds. Plymouth State, Joey Allman, and for Daniel Webster, JoJo Morse.
Tom, Joey Allman is from Hopatcong, New Jersey, Hopatcong High School, and JoJo Morse is from North Reading, locally here in North Reading, Massachusetts. They are, I believe, both freshmen.
They are, yeah. JoJo's coming from a successful high school program out in Massachusetts. And Joey from Plymouth is actually a 2-time regional placer out in New Jersey, which is one of the more quality wrestling states in the nation.
And you are loaded with freshmen. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 freshmen on your team, which is what you would expect in a recruiting situation. And that's got to be great for you. Down the road, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's exciting to be returning everyone on our roster next year.
That's going to be fantastic.
I think that goes, Tom, also to your question about why only 2 NCAA programs in New Hampshire. New Hampshire is growing as a wrestling state, but it's not a traditional wrestling state as it is like a hockey state or or a skiing state. Traditional wrestling states are more in the Midwest, and on the East Coast, the traditional wrestling states are, I'd say, New Jersey, Pennsylvania.
It's funny, when I think of college wrestling, I always think of Iowa. That is a big wrestling state.
That is maybe the number one.
Number one, and one of the number 1 schools at it. All right, Plymouth is going to be in the green. All the Plymouth wrestlers will be in the green jerseys. Daniel Webster will be in the traditional school colors of blue and red. And John, what do we got going on here? It looks like Ahmed has got the edge here. At least that's the way it looks.
Yeah, he was off to an early takedown and looking to lock up a cradle right now to score near fall criteria.
Now, Coach, has he scored the takedown yet? Because it looks like he would have, but it's not on the scoreboard.
He has, yeah. For the beginning of this first match, they had a little slow to get all the points up on the board.
Yeah,
they were okay.
He was awarded the takedown pretty early on, and has racked up over a minute riding time.
Now, did you expect that?
We knew going into this match it was going to be a little bit more of a challenge for us.
Yep.
We're a little bit smaller, and the Plymouth State wrestler had a very successful high school career in New Jersey.
Joe, what's the technique being used here right now?
He's trying to get a headlock on him, am I right? I mean, well, working both hands and trying to put legs in on top.
Feel free, guys, to talk.
That's a tilt.
Right off. As soon as you see something, like Joe, just as soon as you see something, feel free to describe it.
The ref's kind of blocking it right now, but the Plymouth State wrestler's in control with a leg in, and then also using like a power half hold on the head area to expose the back.
He's looking for a pin.
Now, what the referee's signaling there, Tom, is four near fall points when he's got his back toward the mat but not pinning him. For the number of seconds he holds him, he scores points.
Okay.
That is a new rule for college wrestling. Previously, it used to be exactly like how high school is. And if you hold them for 2 seconds, you get 2 points. If you hold them for 5 seconds, you get 3. Okay. It's how it is in high school wrestling.
Like he has them now. Yep. See the ref counting, Tom?
Yep, I see him.
2 points for 2 seconds right there.
Yep.
And the period winds down.
12-0 the score, as you see it on the left side of your screen.
Now, if you can reach 15, Tom, that's called a technical fall.
It's a technical fall, and that ends the match.
You get 5 points for that in the dual meet score, whereas you would get 6 for a pin. If you just win a decision, just by a few points, 3 points, you can get a major decision by winning by 4.
By 4.
Actually, no, is it 8, Coach?
Yeah, between
4
8.
points, but 8
Same rule applies in high school, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay.
So to start the second period, the Daniel Webster wrestler, JoJo, chose neutral, and the Plymouth State wrestler just awarded a takedown.
Okay. Does your guy have any recourse at all in this match?
Yeah.
Anything to fight back with?
I mean, he could be fighting in, putting himself in a bit of a better position to score. I would have liked to have seen our wrestler be a little bit more offensive.
Yes, because he's on the defensive completely from the start.
Right.
But in fairness, right, his first college match ever. Am I right?
Yeah, he wrestled with us at Ithaca, but this is his first time in front of the home crowd, and he's been dealing with some injuries that have kept him out of the room a little bit. But he's getting healthier.
Very close to a pin.
Those blue T-shirts you see behind the referee, Tom, are Nashua Boys and Girls Club youth wrestlers.
Imagine you get a lot of that shot in your matches. You get a lot of youth groups coming to you. When you go on the road and when you're home, I imagine.
Yeah, we especially with Nashua, we try to connect with them. So we had a little clinic for a lot of the Nashua youth and middle school teams before the dual meet, so they can get in there and wrestle on the mat a little bit and learn from some of the college guys.
And Coach Archambault ran basically a youth series of clinics over the fall, late summer and fall, right? Mm-hmm. What was it called? Eagle Clinic? I forget what it was.
It was just we call them the mat rats. The little kids in there just wrestling and teaching them basics, and they had some fun. We had about a dozen kids this fall.
Joe, you guys underway yet with the youth groups in wrestling?
They just started last weekend for the youth groups.
Yeah.
He's going for the pin here, trying to apply the pin, but he can't get the shoulder down. Ref is down the mat looking for it, Tom. But
yeah, JoJo's fighting.
He is. Yep.
There it is. 14.
He's got to get one more point for the technical fall, correct?
No, he just earned it right there.
He just did, okay.
So the final score is 18-0. So by JoJo fighting hard off his back to not get the pin, he kept the team score a little bit closer.
Right. Okay. He didn't give up 6 points. He only gave up 5. That's Coach. Man in the black there in the suit, Tom, is Coach Ryan Scheiding. He's the Plymouth State coach.
Okay.
Also, a gentleman who's very good to the clubs locally. Shows up.
Yeah, he's done a lot of great things with his program.
Yep.
He was kind of giving it to them when they were in like a downward kind of couple years, and he's really done well to build them up.
Again, Joe, how old do you think this program is? Plymouth State?
I don't know how long Plymouth State's been wrestling, but it's well over 10 years.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, now coming up, we have Brian Williams for Plymouth in the green, and of course in the Daniel Webster outfit, Mike Silva. Tell me a little bit about Mike Silva.
Mike Silva is a business major. He just decided to come to Daniel Webster late in August. He was kind of contemplating that. His family runs a nice business that he helps out with. Right there, he got a little bit aggressive and got shrugged, so the other opponent took advantage of that and got the takedown.
Tom, I'll tell you, I've known Mike Silva since first grade. I should say second grade. He was from Lowell, and he and his family moved to Nashua when he was in second grade and wrestled at the Boys and Girls Club.
Right.
Did a lot of wrestling with my own son at the club, and Mike was a wrestler at South High School for Coach Adam Langlaw, who's I know in the gym somewhere there.
He's a little bit more to the left.
A little bit more to the left.
Yep.
And Mike didn't wrestle as a freshman, I don't think, at Johnson Wales, did he? He's a transfer from Johnson Wales.
Correct.
Yep.
And here's Mike.
Oh, nice move.
Yep.
Great reversal by Mike. Now he's holding his back. Almost got him pinned here. Some people thought he did have him pinned there, Coach.
Yeah, it was close. The ref may have been a little bit out of position. His bottom knee, if he puts that in the opponent's hip instead of the back, would put him in a much better position to get those shoulder blades flat for the pin. Okay. He's working hard for it.
I was a little surprised, Coach, to see Mike starting in your lineup. Only not to take anything away from Mike and his talent, because he's a very quick, talented kid. Here's a reversal by Plymouth State, but only because Mike didn't have a lot of experience, and he had been off from wrestling for a couple years. Will he be your normal starter, you think, at 33?
I mean, right now he's our guy.
Yeah.
And if he just continues to keep working hard and improving each day, he could put himself in a position to be the guy at the end of the year for the postseason tournament.
Well, that's great to see. That's great to see a Nashua South alum in collegiate wrestling.
It's great to see any of the local athletes in these schools here. it is. But you're right, especially the new sport, because wrestling is very popular in Nashua.
Oh, it is.
So for John to be able to take advantage of that, I'm sure he's got to be huge.
Yeah, I'm glad to get them involved with the program and hopefully, helping them achieve their goals and earn a quality education at the same time.
Looking up in the stands, you'll see a gentleman to the referee, off the referee's ear, named in black. His name is Rick Loria. He was Mike's middle school coach at Fairgrounds Middle School. He's wearing a dark green, it looks black jacket, but he's just off the ref's ear.
Yes, see him. Yep.
Rick Loria, well-known educator in Nashua and been running the Fairgrounds Middle School team now for about 9 or 10 years. And here we go. Saved by the buzzer. Good score, though.
6-4.
Silva up 6-4.
And Silva started out at a disadvantage. So what did he do to reverse that score a little bit?
He was able to reverse the opponent, so then he became the one in control on top.
Right,
and then
called the reversal.
Yep. And then he locked up a really nice cradle, rolled through with it, and exposed the Plymouth State wrestlers back for 4 points.
Now, what did you just tell him there to do in the next round?
So right there, I had noticed that he was able to find that cradle, but also got reversed later on. So I told him to kind of ride a little bit more conservative, look for the cradle. If not, let him up and just get 1 point for an escape and then look for another takedown.
Okay.
He didn't quite take my advice. As we see, he's getting a little bit high, and this isn't going to work out in his benefit right here.
By high, Tom, what coach means is he's got too much weight up near the shoulders and head.
Shoulders and head, yes, that's what I thought, yep.
And there's the reversal. So the Plymouth State wrestler scores 2 points for that.
So by being high like that, it would enable the Plymouth State wrestler to slip it out and make the reversal.
Correct, yeah.
Because he had more room to work with, basically, right?
Right. His hips were free.
Yep.
Now, Brian Williams is from Coyle and Cassidy, which sounds like an academy in Taunton, Massachusetts. He's a freshman, 133. And Mike Silva, of course, as we've said, is a Nashua South alum. Whole coaching staff right there, right on top.
Look at that. They are right there. You don't see coaches that close to the action.
A lot of sports.
In a lot of, right, usually.
The ref actually warns them for being a little too close.
Yep.
There's supposed to be a 5 to 10 foot rule that they'd like you to be away from the mat.
Now, talk about the college out of bounds rule, Coach.
They made it really simple. For anyone who's used to watching high school wrestling, there's a lot of whistles that get blown, a lot of out of bounds, and it's all for safety. In college, the mats have to be a certain dimension so that they can safely wrestle, so all you need is one supporting point inbounds. So it could be even something as small as a pinky finger, and as long as that's in bounds,
you're good to go.
Yep. You can earn back points, and you can also pin your opponent when they're out of bounds.
We'll take a timeout at the end of that round, and we'll be back with more wrestling right after this.
You know, some snacks are a lot of trouble. I wish it were easier.
Snacks with edible wrappers would be a much better idea. What about fruits and vegetables?
Just wash and eat. Blueberries, pears, and tomatoes. How fast and easy was that? Join me next time when we'll learn the secrets of making a salad.
Third period.
Third period, we're back. Plymouth State leads
Williams
12-6 in this 133 weight class. Brian Williams against Mike Silva of Daniel Webster College. Plymouth State's Brian Williams on your right in the green. Now he's moving around, so. And Daniel Webster's Mike Silva in the red and blue.
So even though the Daniel Webster wrestler had appeared to be in control,
right, he did.
The opponent had an overhook on one of the arms, and it wasn't quite a takedown yet.
And flipped him.
Yep, Mike got a little excited, kind of jumped over that whizzer, and.
Now, can you bait a wrestler in doing that? If you're an opponent, bait your opponent into doing that a little bit?
You can, yeah. And I think Mike might have taken that bait and went kind of big. And, you know, he's in a pretty tight position right here.
Left himself wide open. Still trying to put up. There's the pin.
Yep. And there it is. So he records the pin.
6 points for Plymouth State, Tom.
And that gives Plymouth State an 11-0 lead by my count, right?
Correct.
All right, and we will go to the next match at 141. Orlando Rojas from Daniel Webster against Zach Cassidy of Plymouth State. Tell us a little bit about Orlando.
Orlando's quite a character. He's overcome a lot of adversity in his life to get where he is today, and you know he's a hard worker who really gives when he's in there. He's giving it everything he has, and you know we'll see that elbow brace over there. He may not be able to finish out the season because of a UCL injury in his elbow, but that's not going to stop him from giving it everything he has from whistle to whistle. He's doing well as a Homeland Security major.
Yep. And he's from Haverhill. Where'd you spot him?
I had seen him wrestle last year as a senior and spoke with his coach, Brian Urquhart, who's a great guy. He's one of those coaches that really tries to teach, you know, more than just wrestling. Tries to ties in that big character piece.
Right.
Who spoke very highly of Orlando, and we just went from there.
These are both freshmen, Tom. Orlando Rojas, as you said, from Haverhill, Mass. And his opponent, Zach Cassidy's from Griswold, Connecticut, Griswold High. 2 freshmen.
2 freshmen going, but they're experienced in wrestling. And
oh, certainly.
Right now, anyway,
Orlando's a multi-time state placer in high school in Massachusetts.
So he's somebody you've got confidence in when you send him out there, obviously.
I do, yeah. There's still a big learning curve for freshmen.
Sure.
You know, going from successful state tournaments and to college, where you know most people have that kind of resume.
All right, I'm going to ask you one question, and then I'm going to lead it to John. What's the jump like from middle school wrestling to high school?
I think it's a big jump. You know, it's not so much the competition of dual meets and tournaments. The difference is middle school generally practices maybe twice a week.
Okay.
Twice a week practice, and then maybe a tournament or some type of event on a weekend.
Right.
High school wrestling, the jump is the everyday grind, and a lot of kids struggle with it.
Yep.
A lot of kids struggle with it. Some middle schools try to prep the kids for it by running a shorter season but going every day.
Yes, it's a long season, too. It goes from November to February.
I know they do that at Runlet Middle School up in Concord.
Yep.
And I know they do that at Timberlane Middle School, which is those are 2 programs that feed into successful high school programs. So maybe some food for thought there. The difficulty, of course, is finding middle school coaches who can maintain an everyday schedule.
That's just it. They've got to be able to do it, too. Now, the next thing is what's the jump like from high school wrestling to college wrestling?
Especially for this area of New England, you know, sorry, when you get into competitions and tournaments, some of the more really talented wrestlers like Orlando and stuff, you know, they may have some easier first-round matches. In college, there is no easy match. You've got to come mentally prepared and ready and focused, you know, right off the scales in that first match. And between it being 7 minutes and a little bit more, you know, everyone's a little bit stronger and experienced. You can't really take a break at all in a match, because then that's when you can slip up and end up getting pinned.
44 seconds left in the period. What is going on in terms of what Cassidy is doing here? It looks like he has got the advantage.
Yeah, after Orlando got that initial takedown in the opening 15 seconds, Cassidy's really controlled and settled in on top.
But look at Orlando scramble. The kid's a scrambler.
Yeah, he's trying to reverse it. You can tell.
There's an escape point right there. He scores.
Yep.
And he's in for the shot. Coach Brandon Goth, you're getting kind of excited on the sideline there, Coach.
He does. Yes. He has a lot of energy. He gets very excited and really fired up.
Great guy in the community, Tom.
Brandon Goth, the assistant coach.
Yeah, he's a phys ed teacher at Elm Street Middle School.
Yep.
Was a New England champion in high school. I think is it Lowell High?
Yes. Yep.
And wrestled at Rhode Island College.
Yeah, he was also a New England champ there.
Did you have him from the beginning here, John, or did you just hire him this year?
No, I had him from the start pretty much.
And that had to help.
Absolutely.
Somebody from the area, that had to be a big help. All right, that's the buzzer at the end of the period. What did we see in that period?
Orlando was able to finally get out on bottom and put some motion together for the escape. So that's where he had that 3rd point. It's up 3-2. The Plymouth State wrestler did rack up a lot of riding time. which could.
Let's talk about routing time, Coach. How you score routing time?
Is that when they just one on top? You know, kind of clinging each other on top of each other and trying to prolong.
Right. So how they do it is, as soon as someone is in the advantage and has control, so
on
whether
top.
So whether you start on top or you earn the takedown, the riding time starts to build up for you. And then when the other person has it, it starts to build up for them. So at the end of the match, if either one of the opponents has 1 minute cumulative more than their opponent, they earn 1 point for the riding time.
Okay.
And I think in one of the matches tonight, if I remember right, that sent it into overtime, right?
That is correct. Yeah, we will see that where it really has an impact.
You got to be in good shape.
Oh, there's nothing like wrestling shape. I honestly mean that. You see, football shape is not swimming shape, and swimming shape is not cross-country shape.
Right.
But I had a son who ran cross-country, ran cross-country in high school, also wrestled, and spring track was a pole vaulter. And there's not, according to him anyway, nothing like wrestling conditioning. Nothing out there. The idea of 3 or 2 minutes straight, pressing muscle against muscle with constant pressure. Like, look at you see here. See the leg vibrating?
Look at the leg vibrating. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
good example of it.
Very difficult. It requires cardio and strength.
Yep.
So the rec just called a stalemate. About 20 or 30 seconds before that, the top man was hit for stalling warning. That was his first warning. If he gets hit again for a stalling warning, it'll be a point for the Daniel Webster wrestler. The ref will call a stalemate when neither person can really look to improve.
Look at that. I mean, first he's out, Orlando, and then he goes right for the takedown, and now he's getting near fall points. This is a big rack up of points, Tom.
And it's huge. Look at the momentum. You can hear the crowd behind it and everything else.
I wish we had a replay because I really loved, Coach, the way Orlando first escaped and then literally didn't wait even a second before shooting.
Yeah, he doesn't stop. Yeah. And that's one thing that we really try to preach is off those transitions is really one of the best opportunities to score. He's and people tend to mentally let up after a transition. Orlando didn't let up.
There's the push. Did you get it? Is that a foul when he pushed him like that?
No, until there's a whistle, you got to be ready to wrestle.
Okay.
And while it looked like just a shove, he was kind of in a stance, and you could say that he was looking to initiate a tie-up. So it wasn't quite just a shove.
Orlando Rojas up 9-3 is in control of this match right now.
Unfortunately, due to that UCL injury.
Yeah, how long is he going to be able to go with that?
We'll see. He's getting it checked out again this week, but I think I'm going to recommend for surgery, and then he'll be ready and healthy, and for next season.
Yeah, you see the wrap on the brace on his left arm all the way up to the elbow.
So he was just warned for stalling also, so both wrestlers have been warned.
Both have been warned, okay. That's the end of the period, the second period. One more period to go in this match at 141 pounds.
If you look right over the wrestlers, Tom, the ref's in the way right now, so there's a couple of them. To the right there, the bald gentleman with the red sleeves.
Yes.
That's the Manchester Central head coach, Jason Cumming. He also runs a club in Manchester for Manchester PAL. A lot of high school wrestlers train there off season.
So this had to be a big date circled on the calendar for a lot of the wrestling community in New Hampshire, in parts of New Hampshire.
Certainly was.
John, how many more home matches do you have this winter?
We have 2 more. One's in January, and I believe the other one's in February.
Do you wish you had more?
I do.
You will eventually.
And just kind of the way the sport's designed, there's a lot of tournaments that eat up a lot of our schedule, and we're only allowed 16 competitions overall.
Oh, goodness. Now Orlando here got in a little deep on the shot and has given up a takedown.
So there's been a reversal.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, he did start on bottom.
He did start off on the bottom, right.
Yep. So there's actually, I believe they ended up in neutral. So it was 9-3. There was an escape, and then
he was close to
2 for a takedown.
Yep. So he's gotten 3 points out of this, and now we have an injury here.
Yeah,
correct. Yep,
that is Monique Duda. She's the trainer over at Daniel Webster College. Knows a lot about wrestling, Tom. She's a wrestling mom.
Oh, really?
She actually runs the entire middle school wrestling program for the city. You know, our basically Fairgrounds, Elm Street, and Pennachuck, as well as a team at Hudson Memorial. And she sort of coordinates the whole program. Very, very civic-minded woman, and employed at Daniel Webster College. She's a professionally certified trainer.
Trainer, not bad to have a trainer run your wrestling program. Now, is this all elbow related, John?
No, this is actually a little bit of rib too. He got pretty extended when trying to go for that headlock.
Now, is there any penalty for having to call a timeout for injury?
No, there's not necessarily a penalty, but when you do call injury timeout, the other wrestler gets to choose what position they want to restart in.
Okay.
So the Plymouth wrestler was in control on top. He actually is going to choose bottom so he can earn another escape.
Yeah, he gets bottom now, and if he escapes, he gets to score a point that he otherwise wouldn't have been able to score.
I see, exactly right.
Different in high school, Tom. In high school, they have a clock, and there's just a limit to how much injury time you can have.
Okay. 1:08 to go in the period. 9-6 Webster.
Yeah. So the Plymouth wrestler had chose down in Orlando. Daniel Webster gave him the neutral signal to start up in neutral, so he was automatically given that 1 point escape.
Okay.
And then just scored 2 more on the takedown.
2 more points on the takedown. We're even at 9. So if Orlando is to win this, he's going to have to earn it.
Absolutely. He's got his head down right now, not really typically looking very, very strong, but he's pretty gritty.
Now what's
illegal hold?
Illegal hold, that's what he wants, and then he's getting that call?
I'm not too familiar with that situation that they were in being illegal. But
it looked like, I don't know, it looked like the ref at least thought it was some kind of full Nelson arrangement, but I don't know if I saw that.
No, either did I. He kept it pretty legal.
You'll take the point, Coach.
We will, yeah, because at this point, the Plymouth State wrestler has over a minute of riding time on us.
Cassidy is called for an illegal.
He was.
And that gives you a point. You're up 10-9. Now the referee is going over to advise the Plymouth State coaching staff. But now, is this the position after the stoppage that your guy wanted?
Well, he's proven he can get out on bottom. He did it earlier, so hopefully he can do that.
Stall call. He calls a stall. That was a stall, right, Coach?
Correct, and that
difficult call again.
As hard as the Plymouth State wrestler was working to improve his position, they've restated some specifics to how they call stalling.
Yeah, and that's a high school wrestler who just didn't know what was coming right there, right?
Right. If you drop down when you're on the top position, if you ever drop down so that your hands are just on their legs, doesn't matter how hard you're working. If it's after 5 seconds, you automatically get hit for stalling.
This is an amazing round because Orlando seems to be on the defensive, yet he's up by 3.
Correct, yeah. He's missed some practice time with that elbow, and Thursday night he had to leave practice early. I spent time with him in the hospital. That's where that bandage is on his head.
And he's
got 5 stitches.
Wow. He's in a lot of pain as he wrestles in this match.
Yep.
And he's going to win it?
Yes.
Yeah, looks he does. Yes, that's the end of the second or third. That's the end of the third period, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yep. The ref just put up a 1 signal because the Plymouth wrestler was awarded 1 point for riding time advantage.
All right, but Orlando Rojas, you see him grabbing his arm, and I can see, John, why you feel that his season is probably going to come to an end. He defeats Zach Cassidy 12-11. That makes the score 11-3 in favor of Plymouth State.
We're at 149 now, Tom.
All right, 149, and that's got Dylan Fountain of Daniel Webster College against Nick Cimetti of Plymouth. Tell me about Dylan.
Dylan's a Homeland Security major. He comes from a very historically strong high school program, Mount Anthony Union.
Yes, I've heard of it.
Yeah, they just won their 3rd straight New England title last year, and he was one of those big seniors contributing. He himself was a high school New England champ.
It's a good coup for you. It's a good recruit.
Yeah,
terrific recruit, Coach.
No doubt about it. That's good.
Dylan, so again, he's from Bennington, Vermont at Mount Anthony Union High School, just a renowned high school wrestling program, Tom. And Nick Samedi, wrestling for Plymouth State, is from Pearl River High at Pearl River, New York. He's a sophomore. Locking up here, fighting for inside, but they're hand fighting there with sort of half a lockup, each trying to get inside position.
You've got some New Hampshire wrestlers on both teams, but you've got a few on Plymouth that I see, and I see one from Nashua, Cam Bennett.
Cameron Bennett is, from what I heard, I don't know if you heard this, Coach, he was their starting 157, won the wrestle-off at Plymouth State, but he came down with an illness.
Yeah, he was a last-minute scratch. He has mono, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, James DeGasse is wrestling at 157. But right now we've got Dylan Fountain. He is in the, again, blue and red against Nick Samedi in the green for Plymouth State.
Cam Bennett, of course, from Nashua North High School at 157, was a state champion last year for the Titans. 2-point takedown for Plymouth State. Samedi.
Yep. At this point, Dylan should be bowing out much sooner. He's kind of put himself in a vulnerable position to get turned. Luckily, he didn't give up any back points.
Two right now, Plymouth. Now, what does he need to do to get out of this?
He needs to get hand control, I think. But what do you think, Coach?
Definitely more motion and moving. Usually just kind of standing still isn't going to help you.
Yeah, he's basically they've been in the same spot for about 40 seconds right now.
Yeah, and he's looking for some opportunities now. He's got very good hips. He's very lanky and can really catch some people, but he's had to create some of his own opportunities off that motion.
Such a technique-oriented sport. How the wrestlers you've got, and Joe, you know this from coaching kids all the way up through the youth levels, they've got to be coachable. They've got to take coaching. There's a lot of coaching that's got to be done in this sport.
Absolutely, and Dylan's very coachable. He likes to learn. If there's something that we could teach him, or he'll always ask questions.
That's terrific.
Yep.
You know, Coach, if you could establish a nice pipeline there from Mount Anthony Union, that would be quite the lifeblood for your program.
That would be.
Yeah. We have three of their three wrestlers from Mount Anthony on our roster. One's Dylan Rees-Sauer, who's an engineering major at 157. And then another one's Jacob Woodside at 184. You know, we're excited to have them on the team, and they're all great kids who work hard.
Just fabulous, I think, that your school has got a wrestler. Daniel Webster College has a wrestling program. One of the colleges in the city's got one.
Another big recruit, Tom, if you look up on the right of the screen, you see a large gentleman in white. Next to him is a future member, I guess, of
to his right, our left as we look at it. Yep.
Joe Chamelski.
A very notable wrestler in Nashua. Exactly.
He's a sophomore at Daniel Webster, hoping to wrestle soon for Coach Archambault. He was in a Division I program last year at Sacred Heart University in Connecticut and has transferred. But because of NCAA rules, I believe he's got to wait some time before he can put on the singlet, Coach.
Right. Yeah. This year we're going to focus on academics with Joe, and just get that all squared up and make sure we're setting him up for success off the mat.
What weight class are you thinking for him when he comes back?
I think 197 would be a really good fit for him.
197. Wow.
195 in high school. He can get there.
Yep.
Injury time.
Did you make all the arrangements for his private suite and everything else to get a recruit? I mean, I'm sure you. Good dorm spot and everything.
Joe's the only New England champion in the history of Nashua North High School. And now it's a young high school.
He had a phenomenal year 2 years ago. A phenomenal year. He was
2 years, really.
2 years running, right?
Yeah, he was a state champ. He was a state champ. He had a great rivalry in New Hampshire with, what was his name? A kid from Concord.
Indy?
Yeah, Walters Indy.
Walters Indy, I remember that name too.
An immigrant from Cameroon who was quite a high school wrestler with sort of a physical specimen, and Joe and him had some unbelievable battles. And Joe went on, though, to win New England's his senior and to win the Lowell Holiday Tournament, which is a huge achievement around here. Just a terrific high school career.
That was a couple of years ago in North.
2 years ago, yep.
Yes, that's right. Now I'm going to ask you something. What did you tell him there, as we had the camera zoomed right in?
Dylan.
Yep, so this was blood time. He has a little bit of a cut inside his mouth.
Okay.
And I think we'll have to cut to that again in a little bit. It was bleeding for most of the period. And basically what we touched on earlier, he needs motion like that on bottom. He needs to be moving. Otherwise, he's going to get stuck. And he's getting a little bit aggressive, taking some risks, but I'd rather him take risks than just sit there.
Now you talked about Chmielewski and his rivalry with the Concord kid.
With Indy.
With Indy. How good is that in wrestling to have rivalries?
Terrific.
It's great for the sport to have that. It draws fan interest and gets people more involved. And it's great to see. It makes it more exciting.
It's great for the wrestlers, too, because, you know, a kid like Chmielewski didn't have a ton of competition in New Hampshire his senior year. And to have Indy out there always looming is going to give him something to train hard for. You know?
We've got an injury timeout. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more college wrestling. Daniel Webster and Plymouth State right after this.
In 1977, an 8-year-old boy picked up the game of golf from his father. The odds of that same boy then making it to the US and European Pro Golf Tours? 1 in 7 million. The odds of the Big Easy winning the US Open twice? 1 in 1.2 billion. The odds of him having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 150. Ernie Els encourages you to learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
All right, we are back here after the injury timeout. It is early in this period, 1:25 left. We are at the weight class of 149. Dylan LaFountain.
Dylan LaFountain from Daniel Webster College from Mount Anthony Union High School in Bennington, Vermont, versus Nick Cimetti from Pearl River High School in Pearl River, New York.
Now, I talked about rivalries. John, in the world of college wrestling, how difficult is it with all the tournaments and all the different schedules you have to develop a rivalry? In high school, it's pretty simple. They know who the kids are, the other schools, and stuff like that. But for college, it's a lot different. You're on the road all over the place.
Well, that's what you're doing here, right, Coach? I mean, you're trying to start that Granite State rivalry, right?
I am, yeah. I tried to coin this the Live For Your Die Dual Meet Championships, and I went and got a trophy and everything like that. So each year the winning team will get their name, mounted on it for that year and keep it going. It's great seeing a good fan and crowd base here. We're hoping that, only in our second year that, this was a competitive dual meet, and in the future it continues to be more and more competitive, and the rivalry will kind of start up.
Okay, what was the call there?
Stall.
Yep, the ref is
stall on LaFountain. A lot of stall calls in this meet, if I remember right.
Yes, the ref has had a unique
approach to stalling.
Yeah, and the whole goal is to make sure that we're making the guys wrestle from whistle to whistle and constantly improving that position in action. So there's definitely a lot more stalling called in the dual meet than used to. But at the end of the day, the wrestlers got to take it out of the ref's hands. They got to be promoting action and working to improve. So.
Right. Don't leave it up to the official to award points in that situation. We're 3-3 right now.
3-3 at the end of the second period. It is Plymouth State's choice. Looking to his coach. Wants neutral. Neutral position.
What's neutral position?
Standing, facing each other.
Okay. Now, why did he choose that? Why was that? Why did you think the coach had him do that?
Coach Sheeting must have, strategically thought that was their best opportunity to score and put points on the board.
To get a takedown rather than trying to escape.
Right.
Or a breakdown on top.
How many points awarded for the takedown? Is it 2 or is it 1?
It's 2 points.
It's 2 points.
And there it is.
And there it is. There's 2 points.
No, ref hasn't scored it.
No, because he bounced right back.
There's a takedown.
Yep. For you, for Daniel Webster.
Correct.
He goes up 5-3. LaFountain goes up 5-3.
Awful high in the head, and there's a reverse for 2 back. See, so it's scored 2 and great match. The scoring basically in wrestling, Tom, is it's 2 points for a takedown, which is basically assuming a position of
dominance
control.
in that, right. Yep.
1 point for an escape when you're on the when you are being controlled and you escape. 2 points for reversal, going from no control to control.
Control, right.
And then those near fall points when you have your back to the mat and your opponent is scoring points by having your back not on the mat, but to I think it's a 45-degree angle to the mat.
Correct.
Coach?
Exposed.
Yeah, that's basically the scoring, the non-penalty type scoring. And then there's ride time, as Coach explained. If at the end of the match you were in control for over a minute longer than your opponent, you could get a point. What do you think of the ride time, Coach? It's not in high school. It's been criticized by some for, encouraging kind of a low energy type of wrestling. What do you think?
I mean, I guess there's people more important than me up in the food chain who know what's best for the sport. I could see it gone away and not really make a big difference. It doesn't necessarily promote action. They're trying to currently put in more fine print on what's stalling and stuff like that, just to promote more action on top, when getting rid of little things like riding time could easily do that as well.
All right, Smitty just raised his hands thinking that he had a major point score, but it's still 7-6.
It's we're winding down here.
5 seconds left.
And this is that instance where the Plymouth State wrestler has over a minute.
And watch what happens here, Tom. Plymouth State wrestler has the advantage.
Right.
Because he had a minute more of riding time, they're going to give him the point.
They get a point and send it into overtime?
Yep. If my memory serves.
Correct. Yep. And then in sudden death overtime, it's just whoever scores the first point. They have 1 minute in neutral to.
That's pretty good.
Coach Scheiding.
Yep. Going over, making sure it wasn't a takedown that the other points were awarded, right? From what he said?
Yep.
So you get the ride time point of 1 point, and you're tied at 7.
First takedown
wins. This is pretty good.
Yeah, it's good. Good drama. I don't know anything about Pearl River, New York wrestling, Coach. Do you?
I know they're a relatively strong program.
Really?
They do pretty well. I know that there's been some successful.
Oh! You get them? Down?
No, they were out of bounds.
Out of bounds. They're going to go back in the circle.
Back to neutral. You can tell a Fountain's been in some battles. I mean, at Mount Anthony Union, they frequently wrestle 100 meets or 100 matches in a year.
Right.
You know,
his senior year he was like 62-2.
Wow.
His record,
which is a lot. You know, when a high school wrestler, Tom, gets 100 wins, it's a big deal.
Yes.
A lot of kids on Mount Anthony get 200, 250.
My goodness.
Yeah, they really rough.
Career-wise?
Yeah.
That is incredible. Dominant sport.
A little celebration there, Coach. You like that?
I was never one to celebrate, you know, but
he didn't
if it got the crowd a little excited,
so
I'm
he
okay
gets
with that.
the win with those 2 points for the takedown, and he's exhausted right now. And
Coach Archibald
just kind of moves him out of the way with his foot.
He doesn't want to see.
I'm not one for the flair dramatic
and
stuff.
the laying down in front of the bench.
You did not like that, huh? Not at all.
You know what, though? That just means I need to work them harder Monday morning.
Yeah. All right.
And did you?
Yeah, tell you something. Absolutely. That's not okay.
Daily practices, John?
So, yeah, if depending on the competition schedule, you know, we're 6 days a week, anywhere from 2 to 2.5 hours of practice, sometimes less before competitions. And then we taper down in February where they're much shorter to peak for the postseason. But because it's Division III, I only require that they attend that one practice.
Here's a specimen.
There are other optional practices and workouts and lifts for kids who want to train as hard as they can and achieve everything. But with some of the engineering majors and things like that, it's difficult for them to find all that extra time.
We're at 157 now, Tom, and that physical specimen you're looking at there.
Paris Williams?
Yeah, Paris Williams, and he is a specimen. Another Haverhill kid, Haverhill High School.
Versus James DeGasse of Plymouth. Paris Williams, go right ahead, John.
Watch this. Right back
Look
on
at
the
that,
mat.
pulling right in.
DeGasse thought he had I think it's DeJasse, but he thought he had a time to fix his headgear. And I think one of his coaches said, pull him back on. And he certainly did.
Yeah, Paris is definitely a gym rat. He loves getting in there, and even in season, he'll be hitting the weights hard and keeping strong, because that plays into his style.
What did you like about him when you recruited?
First of all, look at him.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yep. I like this positive attitude and really appreciating the opportunity. He's a little bit older. I think he graduated high school in 2013. He had his little time off.
Yeah.
And when I approached him, he was super appreciative and just really excited, and he wants it. He does very well in the classroom, too. He doesn't give me any headaches or anything like that. He's always on top of his assignments and doing well.
That has got to be there's a lot going on in coaching today, and that's got to be one of them, the academic part.
It is.
You've got to keep track of that, obviously, right?
It is, and as much as I love the sport and love teaching and coaching and working with these athletes, it means a lot to me to be able to, as a full-time coach at the school, be there during the day and helping them with like the mentoring piece, sitting in like with meetings with professors or setting them up with some tutors or study hall times. And
that had to be an attraction for the job full-time, because that's what you need.
I believe so, yeah. I think at this level.
Part-time coaching is very tough in college.
It is. Coach Sheeting's a part-time coach, and he's got a lot of challenges and adversity he's been overcoming to get it done.
Now, do you go to Plymouth next year, or do they come back here?
We'll talk more. I mean, we'll host it every year if they'll let us.
If
they'll let us. But typically they rotate. We'll see what they would want to do.
All right, what do we see here?
Paris should be applying a little bit more forward pressure there, and we'll see later on. He gets a little bit undisciplined, and he'll pay for it, but he's kind of pulling him a little bit on top of him instead of forward.
He's relying on his strength too much, frankly. We talked about technique, but all things being equal, Tom, physical strength is a huge edge, and Paris was relying on it there maybe a little bit too much.
Yeah. And right here, the ref's block and hit. His opponent's arm from Plymouth is actually in a tough situation, so the ref broke the hold, called it potentially dangerous, which is for the safety of the wrestler.
For the safety of the wrestler, right.
It has to happen.
8-0 in favor of Daniel Webster in this match. They trail overall in the match 11-6. But they're on a roll. They've won 2 in a row. And here we go.
Yeah. Almost pinned himself there.
He did, didn't he?
He has that cross wrist he's kind of holding on to, but yeah, he...
Is his strength going to be able to get him out of this?
We will see. We'll leave the viewers with some suspense.
All right.
But having all that muscle has its downfall. Your body has to pump that much more oxygen to all those muscles. So if you don't really train hard and condition, it could be a tough third period, which we might see here.
Boy, they get a lot of advice from their teammates, don't they?
I can hear it. You can hear them. I know it. Right?
Not all of which you share, Coach. No. Hear it?
Yep.
There's big Stephen Dwight talking to Coach Cumming. That big kid there, is he Daniel Webster College bound?
Yes, he will be returning back to wearing our singlet. He was here with us last semester, or last year, for the first semester before, having to take care of his family.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a father, and he's got his life all squared up and doing really well. And in January, he'll be wrestling for us at heavyweight.
He's a terrific kid.
Yeah, he really is. And he knows how to prioritize. Family always comes first, and then academics, and then athletics for us.
Dominant high school wrestler. Oh, there's Paris on his back.
Paris Williams, 157 pounds, and the body fat is probably 0.21, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Good grief.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Plenty of time left in this period.
Yep, so he's been kind of rushing some of the throws. He knows that he wants to deliver for the team and get the pin, and he's kind of forcing it, which kind of puts him in a bad position.
Now, we're watching this on tape, and I imagine your team has seen this on tape. You must videotape these. And,
we do, yep.
And show them exactly what they're doing now.
Mm-hmm. And most of them have pretty good memory. You know, they're there and they're doing it.
Right.
And I have a pretty good memory too. But yeah, usually Mondays I like to go and review it. I knew today I'd be coming here, so I didn't have to take the time out of my day and watch it yet.
Right.
But, we go over a lot of techniques.
So we're actually helping you do your job today too.
Absolutely.
How about that, huh?
Yep.
Two-way street.
I know it. Have you seen anything so far that you didn't realize during the match when you were over there live?
No, I'm pretty good about taking mental notes or physically writing notes down.
Yep.
And, you know, our conditioning shape, people lying down after the match.
Yep.
Our forward pressure on top, those are all, and the lack of motion on bottom are all things that, you know, I have identified and know that we need to fix, which is one of the benefits of it being a long season. You know, sometimes it can be a real grind for them, but.
When's your next match after this?
This coming Saturday, November 21st, we go to Springfield College for the Doug Parker Invitational, which is probably the toughest tournament on our schedule.
Oh, Paris.
Yep. So there's that lack of forward pressure on top. And
escape.
You still got 12-0.
And he's got
2 points for the escape, right? Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You got 1 for the escape and then 2 for a takedown.
Yep.
And now he's trying to get him to his back. Tough way to do it, though, against Paris.
Yeah.
Going against it, you know.
Well, that's the end of the period. He played that smartly. He stayed put.
12-3.
12-3. Yeah. We got 1 more period to go. Interesting. They don't come over to you or their other coach, or Plymouth go to their coach.
It's not really permitted.
Periods. They don't do that. They go right back at it, right?
Right. Yeah, they try to minimize the breaks.
Yes,
and keep it as constant motion.
Yep. Did you do that in high school too, Joe?
Oh, yeah. You know, they're not really supposed to be over there chatting with your coach during the match.
So this was a double stall call. The ref viewed that neither wrestler was working to improve.
Yep.
You know, typically you might see a stalemate called there and then tell them that you want more action and then potentially hit one of the people. He decided to hit both, which is, you know.
Wasn't the last time he did it that night either.
No. But if we didn't want him to hit that, we should have been moving more and working.
John Collins and I have been hit with double stall calls all the time.
Yeah.
Our careers have just stagnated. We've stayed right put. That's been it.
Oh, Paris.
Ooh, nice flip.
Yeah. And he's counting near fall points. It's looking like a pin, but no.
Not yet, right?
No. 4 more, 18-3. That should. Now, why isn't that? Yeah.
Yep.
That's the technical fall. Up by 15, Tom, so he scores the win.
You have taken now, after losing the first 2, you've taken 3 in a row.
Yep, they're up.
At 141, 149, 157.
Yep, it's tied 11-11, I believe.
As Paris Williams wins this, they give you the lead there.
I think they'll fix that.
They'll fix that, and it's tied up at 11 apiece, and we're going to go to 165.
Yep, so it's kind of the halfway point, which you can kind of tell how important bonus points are. So,
now what are bonus points?
So bonus points are any matches that aren't a decision. So we picked up 2 decisions.
Right.
At 141 and 149, we got 3 team points for those.
Okay.
Whereas Plymouth only won 2 matches and they're already at 11. It took us 3 to get there.
All right, Paris Williams wins that one. Now we're 165. Seth Carter against Clay Callahan at Plymouth State. Seth Carter for Daniel Webster College. Tell me about Seth, Coach.
Seth's a construction management major, and he's been great with the team this year. He's
older than most of the kids, right?
Correct. He is older. He's 25 years old. He went and wrestled for Alvern High School.
Terrific wrestler.
Sure, yes.
Yeah. So he was at Plymouth State for 2 years, where he was a 2-time all-conference wrestler for them. So he's definitely battle tested, and he's up against one of their tougher, Clay Callahan, who was one match away from placing at the regional national qualifier last year.
And how did you make contact originally with Seth?
Seth was coaching at Hudson Middle School.
Yeah, for our program, yeah.
So between helping out some of their programs and met him at Gate City practice, and we just kind of started talking from there, and he decided he was interested in getting back to school, finishing up a degree, and wanted to keep wrestling. And as we'll find out, he definitely still has it.
Yeah. This Tom has an interesting ending, and if you blink, you'll miss it.
Yep, so Seth was close to earning a takedown already in that opening 30 seconds. He just didn't quite establish control.
Right, so there's no score yet up on the board.
And Seth so far this season's been pretty dominant. He placed third place at the Ithaca Invitational last weekend with 2 tech falls and a pin and a major decision.
Wow.
And then he walked away. He also pinned his opponent from Rhode Island College on Wednesday night.
So you've got some strength in those middle weights.
We do, yeah. We're looking for a couple guys in January to kind of balance out some of the other weight classes, like Stephen Dwight that we had mentioned.
Sure.
Carter has a tough opponent tonight, though, for sure. Well, I did Saturday night.
Yeah, he looks it. I mean, good size for both wrestlers.
Seth's a very innovative wrestler, too. He really doesn't just go with the cut and dry moves. He's very good at creating, unique opportunities and putting some things together.
Does that come with his experience, because he is older than some of these wrestlers at 25?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it. He's definitely experienced, and he uses that.
And he's probably not, because of his age and experience, Coach, probably a little less afraid to make a mistake. You know what I mean? A little less risk averse.
Right. Yeah, he's very good at staying in position even when he is taking a risk.
Not even sure.
They've been on their feet for the longest time in any of the matches we've seen so far.
Right.
Advantage or disadvantage?
I think Seth's always had his advantage when he's scoring points and creating action. And Callahan from Plymouth is doing a good job staying in position, in hand fighting, and limiting Seth's opportunities.
Stall warning against Plymouth State.
Yep.
So this is Plymouth State's first shot of the match, I believe. Up until then, it had been Seth just controlling everything. So it was relatively warranted for him to hit that.
They go back into the circle, or they're out of bounds, they take it. 11-11 overall in the match. Plymouth had jumped
great
out
match and a great duel.
Yeah, Plymouth jumped out to an 11-0 lead. Daniel Webster comes right back with 3 wins in a row.
All right.
Tom King along with John Archibald, the head coach at Daniel Webster College, as we are watching this, as you are at home at the same time on tape delay. And Mr. Wrestling in Nashua, Joe LaPlante.
Plymouth State chooses down bottom position, hopefully to get the escape and score in this sort of low-scoring affair right here.
Very low scoring. Nothing on the board yet.
Quite the finish here in this period, though. You're gonna blink. If you blink, you'll miss it.
In the crowd are actually a couple of Seth's middle school wrestlers from Hudson.
Does he still coach them now?
He doesn't.
No, okay.
That middle school team
that
is
would be a lot. That would be tough to do.
That middle school team, Tom, is part of our Boys and Girls Club program. We've placed them at all these middle schools.
What a great sport for these kids.
It really is great.
Chance for participation.
The disappointing issue, though, we're on the education channel here, Tom. The school district doesn't run middle school wrestling. It's completely run by the Boys and Girls Club.
Funded by the Boys and Girls Club.
At the middle schools. So it's sort of an interesting, community partnership.
Yep.
But it'd be nice.
It'd be nice to see the schools take it over. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
And there's been some discussions about that off and on. Budgets are tight, though, Tom, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
Look at this.
Look at this.
Pin.
And a pin, which you really wouldn't see.
The disbelief. Look at the disbelief.
I know it. And you wouldn't see. You're right. If you miss it, if you blink, you miss it. Where did the pin take place? Right when he rolled right over?
Yeah. And I had a much better vantage point that night.
Was there not that much movement on the part of Callahan?
Callahan went for a pretty big roll that Seth kind of countered well. Seth was in on a sweep single attack and was in decent position.
Yep.
He started pressuring back towards Callahan's head as he went for a roll, and the ref thought for Seth was in control enough, and there wasn't enough movement where both shoulder blades touched, and
they
called the pin.
And you get 6 points, and you're up 17-11. And John, we mentioned before, I got to say that's Seth's experience there. Has to be.
He's much stronger than he looks, and he was able to hold that position the ref called the pin.
All right.
That's part of the risk you take whenever you roll across your back.
Now we are at 174. Matt Froyo of Plymouth against Winston Pilat of Daniel Webster College.
Matt Froyo is from Cohasset High in Cohasset, Massachusetts. Tom, he's a freshman, 174. Wilson Pellet, you may remember, Tom, Nashua South alum.
Name sounds familiar, yep.
Wilson is one of those kids in the city of Nashua, not a kid anymore, he's a grown man now, but much loved young man for his, he's a strong, tough wrestler, but he's got an excellent personality, very kind young man, looks out for teammates. One of those kids at the Boys and Girls Club gym who's always looking out for people who are, maybe underconfident, tries to lift them up. And it's great to see him in college.
And we're lucky to have him. He really is just a great kid. He works hard in the classroom. He's good with the guys and lightening up the mood. And exactly like you said, he really can kind of pick out when someone's having like a little bit of an off day, and he's there to be there for him.
Didn't he wrestle last year, Coach, somewhere?
He was at Stick last year.
Stick being Springfield Tech Community College?
Correct.
Yep. Now, what's that mean eligibility-wise? What did?
He competed, so he used up one of his 4 years of eligibility.
So you have him as a freshman here on your roster, though. Is that just a typo, or is that?
Well, he may be academically a freshman.
Yeah,
so
probably is.
For you athletically, he's got only 3 years of eligibility.
Right, and I think he's right around that sophomore
on that border.
For credits,
college,
too.
Yeah, college is different. You don't go by what time of year it is. You go by how many credits they have. And a lot of them are borderline.
Yeah.
In the middle of the year, they could become a sophomore. It's right. Because they've reached that credit count.
That might be a little typo we're going to try to fix, though. Thanks for catching that one.
Joe catches it away.
Take down.
You don't notice that. You don't get away with much with Joe LaPlante.
You're a wise guy, King. Now, Wilson's been struggling with the ankle, right, Coach?
Correct. And we'll kind of see that.
See how he's moving around? Yep. Trying to keep it loose?
He has a small brace on that. And
what's the nature of his ankle problem, though, if you know?
It's a minor sprain, but in this kind of sport where there's such different types of angles and pushing and pulling and weight and everything, it can kind of impact you. So he's been on a little bit lighter duty at practice. The athletic trainers let me know what he can and can't do and handle, and he's gotten the clear to wrestle. He doesn't have a super high pain tolerance, so we'll kind of see how that goes.
He's in trouble here, it looks like.
Yeah, Froyo's very, very talented wrestler. He did really well in high school. I believe he took third at High School New England's last year. But Wilson's ankle not being 100% is going to limit some of his offense and his ability to move on bottom.
Joe, while I have you, how is it going to look high school-wise around the Nashua area?
Well, if you look at the two young men just over the wrestlers there, the green and the navy blue wearing Timberland boots, those are two of our top local wrestlers. It's on the left, that's Wilson Pellet. I'm sorry, Wilson Pellet's on the mat. Right. The left, that is Wayne Nolette, a junior at North, and he's probably the top-ranked kid in the city, Nashua, Hudson, Merrimack area.
Right.
Probably the top kid. He's a New England qualifier last year. Excellent wrestler. Kind of new to it. Kid to his right, actually to his left, our right.
Yep, just moved his head to look to our left.
He's got his hand up to his mouth. That is Nathaniel Lindsay from Hollis Brookline.
Oh, okay.
And he will contend this year, probably at 138 or 145 for the state championship. They both will contend for sure.
Very good.
They're good friends who met through the Boys and Girls Club program, and as you can see, they're fast friends now.
That's great. It's 2-0 the score, as you see on the left side of your screen.
Both wrestlers were hit or warned for stalling.
Okay.
In the ref's double stall call.
Now, scoreboard doesn't seem to reflect that, Coach. I don't know what that's about. It says 2-0. I'm not sure what happened.
It was just a warning.
I see. I think we're coming up to a important
Well, Plymouth gets a point right there.
It's a good snap down to a go behind by the Plymouth wrestler.
But your guy is fighting. You know, well, there's a flip there.
Little tumble.
The tumble, but he's fighting because it looked like he was almost going to be pinned right there for a second.
Yeah, he went for that Grammy roll.
Yeah.
Is this
Wilson, point for it.
Coach? Is this Wilson's normal weight class?
It is, yes, 165.
All right.
Does
he have any competition on the squad at that spot?
Well, actually, we bumped him up to wrestle 174
right now. Yeah, he's at 174.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Exactly.
Right.
So he'll be battling out with Seth Carter, who we just saw the match before.
Oh,
so
that is a tough battle.
Mm-hmm.
Carter's quite the wrestler.
Seth also has the opportunity to move down one weight class too, so we can see how that may play out.
How does that work? Do they have to monitor their weight during the course of the season, or?
Oh yeah,
they do. The NCAA has a very strict policy, and they actually have a great system that does all like the mathematical stuff. So at the beginning of the year, they do their weight certification, which they have to be hydrated.
Yep.
And then they do the skin-fold caliber test to see what their current weight is and what the lowest weight they can drop down to with, I believe, somewhere around 4 or 5% body fat. And then that determines what their lowest weight class is that they could wrestle.
Okay, we got an injury time, and we'll take a time. Oh, he looks in pain. We're going to take a timeout. We'll be right back with more college wrestling here at Daniel Webster College as we are sitting here watching the tape of this, and we'll be right back. Daniel Webster, Plymouth State Wrestling. I'm Tom King.
Hey, you feeling all right? Hey, that wasn't me. Sounds like somebody just flushed.
Straight piping waste directly into lakes, rivers, and streams pollutes our water and is illegal. Household waste should be discharged to a wastewater facility or to a septic tank. Be sure to avoid flushing things like plastics, diapers, or household chemicals. Clean water. It's all up to us.
I got something. Ew.
So that was injury forfeit.
So that was a tough one. Correct. Yep, it's a little early in the season to push through a lot of pain. So I assure all the viewers Wilson is okay. He's got a minor sprain. He was at practice today and was a full participant.
All right, so tie score in the meet. You gave up 6 points there on the injury forfeit, so 17-17.
So an injury forfeit.
We're in the
184.
184.
Bruce McLean for Plymouth against Devin Visconti.
Now, Devin Visconti actually did some wrestling, didn't he, at Ohio State University?
Did he really?
Yeah, his freshman year, he was recruited and went and wrestled at Ohio State University with his twin brother also.
Out of Malden Catholic and lives in North Reading, Mass.
Terrific high school wrestlers from Malden Catholic.
Wow.
Yep. Two brothers.
Wrestled at Ohio State. And why the transfer?
He just it wasn't a quite that big school atmosphere and everything.
Yeah.
It just wasn't quite where he wanted to be. His twin brother did stay out there.
He did stay out there. Now let's parallel this. Suppose a basketball player from Ohio State transferred to Daniel Webster College. That would be major news. Major news.
Yeah, it would be major news even for wrestling actually, but there's been a gap. It wasn't like last year it happened, right?
Correct. Yeah, he graduated high school in 2011.
Oh, so he's been
a couple years removed.
Okay. Still though,
we're shaking the rust off, and we'll see how this match goes today. But he did well at the Ithaca Invitational, and he's been a real leader for us. He's the hardest working kid I think I've ever met.
Really.
You ask him to do something, and he'll do it. And then he'll do even more. And
so you're very pleased to have him on the roster.
I am. And he's had a couple bad breaks the past couple matches. We may see one here. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
he's wrestling Bruce McLean, a freshman from Washingtonville High School in Washingtonville, New York. I couldn't place that in the map, Coach. I don't know if you could.
No.
But I'm from New York State. I don't know where it is either. There's a lot of hills.
Where you're 40 from Long Island, Tom?
Albany.
Albany.
Yep. Albany, born and bred.
Like the city of?
City of. Came over to go to school at Northeastern University. Yep. Once I was done, they wouldn't pay the ransom to send me home to Albany, so I stayed here.
So Devin is he's our captain this year, and he normally wrestles at 174 pounds.
Okay.
We bumped him up a weight class, so he weighed in 174.
Right.
And wrestling a large 184 pounder, so he's got his hands full.
What's the reason to go up in a weight class? Why did you bump him up?
At 165, we have both Seth Carter and Wilson Pellet that are two real talents.
Right.
And, you know, Wilson being a hometown guy and a hard worker, I really wanted to get him a match.
Oh.
And it would have helped the team overall if he wrestled 174 and then Devin went up to 184.
Okay. Interesting dynamic. The crowd is starting to get in, but I think a lot of the noise that we hear is coming from the benches, from the athletes.
It's
Where
true.
does the crowd get because they are intently watching this match.
Right, and that's something that hopefully, you know, the crowd and the fans can start getting more invested in both teams as hopefully this rivalry builds.
Yep.
And they get a little bit more into it. This was a relatively longer dual meet also comparatively, so I can see if they kind of are a little bit out of it.
They've been this way. I mean, they're watching every move.
Yeah, they are riveted. Just saw some in the middle of the stands there, a little bit of a, I don't know, exodus. I don't know where they all went.
Right, look at that. You see it.
That one person, though, that has the circle of empty people around them, that was actually my father, who made the drive up from Ludlow on his birthday.
Did he really? On his birthday? Wow. Must have been great to see him on his birthday.
Yeah. Maybe he made a comment and he was surrounded by some, PSU fans.
Maybe.
And he made some kind of...
He's a pretty calm and quiet fan. I got lucky. There are some crazy wrestling parents out there.
Are there really?
Is your dad a big wrestling guy? Or is it just something you did on your own?
It's something I did on my own.
Yeah.
Yep. I was lucky that they supported me, but...
I remember Ludlow being a wrestling town and coaching that for many years, the youth state tournament, right?
Yep.
6th grade and under was always at Ludlow High.
Always at Ludlow? Well, you could tell the size advantage here. It's definitely having a factor.
You won't get any complaints from Visconti, though. He's what you call a game fighter.
So how many trips out on the Mass Pike to Ludlow did you make, Joe LaPlante?
Very few. We always had a couple of Nashua Boys and Girls Club kids who were from Massachusetts, so we'd take them out to Ludlow.
Right.
But most of our kids were in New Hampshire states, which we hosted in Nashua. So it was okay. It was all right.
Still don't have a score up, which surprises me because of the size advantage.
Yeah.
We are in the second period, and it's an even match overall between the two teams, Daniel Webster and Plymouth State, at 17, tied.
Now, there's no conference that you compete in, right, Coach?
We are. We're actually a member of the New England Wrestling Association Conference,
okay.
The NEWA, and that consists of all 15 Division III wrestling schools in New England, Plymouth State being one of them.
So this is
and you're the newest edition.
So this is a conference match.
Whoa.
Yeah. Whoa, that's a big...
I don't know how you get away with that, Coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the ref's there, specifically to make sure that, the safety of the athletes. I mean, kind of like you said before, though, Devin won't groan for a second,
No. But generally, Tom, you're not supposed to be able to slam
him down like that, slam him down.
It's called returning the wrestler to the mat. It's called returning.
Would there be points taken away? Would there be points awarded? Or?
So if the ref had decided to penalize the Plymouth State wrestler for an illegal slam, the other person would be awarded a point.
Okay.
And generally the way to avoid that is to put a knee down or something, right, Coach? I mean, there's a correct way to return a wrestler to the mat.
Right. You just kind of end that momentum, and you don't direct it towards their head.
Yeah. Now, looking at Visconti here, he's got 2 years of eligibility for you. This year or next? Or is it more?
He has one more year after this.
After this year. Yep.
Can you continue to bump him up, though? That's the question.
I personally don't like to bump around too much.
Yeah.
especially if, it's unfortunate for the individual going up and everything like that. But he likes the challenge and stuff like that.
That's good.
We only have one more dual meet this semester. I don't foresee us bumping him up for that.
Okay.
And then second semester, we'll have a couple additions and be able to bring a couple people down to different weight classes. So I think this is hopefully the last time. This Saturday, he'll be competing at 174.
Good. And you have the freedom at a tournament, right, to compete, to enter more than one wrestler at each weight class, right?
Right, and that's what's great about college wrestling is that they allow that. At the Invitational, you can bring your entire team. A lot of tournaments we go to, and that's where I try to design my schedule. First look for as many tournaments as I can that I can bring everybody.
Yes.
So we'll have some guys that are third or fourth on the depth chart.
Right.
And they get, 20 or 30 matches.
That's not bad. Now that dual meet you were talking about, that's in Springfield, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
On December 11th?
Yes, that's when we go to them for our final dual meet.
Right, for the semester. You don't take much time off, though, because you're right back at it January 6th.
Yep. So right after that dual meet is when we officially start our break. That's when we have finals.
Yep.
And when classes and when there's finals or classes aren't in session, we don't officially practice.
It's about a 3-week break.
Yeah, and then we'll come back January 1st and start getting ready for January 6th.
It will be here before you know it. That's for sure.
So third period.
In a 1-0 match, very low-scoring match.
McLean chooses bottom. Visconti, up 1-0. He's got the 1 point for the penalty.
That was actually his escape. There was no penalty.
Oh, he got the escape?
He did get the escape.
The escape, all right, so it's 1-0 because of that. We're here at 184.
Yeah. Adjusting the headgear while on top. Difficult to do. And here comes McLean.
Yeah, and gets right back up. He's going to take him down.
Here we go.
The strength against strength, and McLean
Now
wins
watch
it.
the feet, watch the body. Oh.
You get points for that? You got a point for that? 2 points for that?
He had 1 point for an escape.
1 point for the escape. Nothing for a takedown.
So why did he stop the? I don't understand that. Well, why did he stop the wrestling?
I'm not sure.
Out of bounds?
The ref wanted a restart to bring the action to the center.
Center, yeah, he wanted it over the edge or slid right off.
Well, I want a lot of things, but I can't make them all happen. I guess when you're the referee, you can.
I don't know, Joe. You're a judge. You're as close to a referee as there is.
Yeah. Sort of. Try to apply the rules, though, as written.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. You can't make them up as you go along.
But refereeing is difficult. I've been a referee in boxing for years, and it's thankless and a lot of criticism involved. So I don't want to pile on here too much. But
the referee is
here we go. Here we go. Look at this.
What's he calling?
Both got a point. Both got a point for unnecessary roughness.
Correct.
Wow.
And it was definitely, I believe, maybe my bias. As though the Plymouth
Coach Rauschenbach's had enough. He wants
he's very, What happened there?
Well, I noticed that we were hit for an illegal, unsportsmanlike, and we, in fact, were headbutted, and then we got aggressively clubbed. And the ref deemed that we also were involved with the headbutting. So both people.
So it was almost like offsetting penalties, right?
And at that point,
look at him rake in the face.
Look at that, the hands in the face. Is that legal?
And watch the feet. Here's what I don't understand. What are you saying there, Coach?
I want to contest the takedown because, as most people had seen, the Plymouth wrestler didn't achieve any control to have a takedown until they were out of bounds.
Yeah, that was the call that left the crowd talking that night, right there.
And the Plymouth coach wasn't happy about it. Well, he accepted the call, of course, but
he gets 2 points for it. Yeah, sure.
He would have preferred it not to end like that. He wanted his guy to have to earn it, But that's just the way it is sometimes.
Look at Visconti
11 seconds left.
And then he got near fall points.
Yeah, he went for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to give that up when you go that hard.
Yeah, he's got the strength advantage, too.
As a coach, I'm never upset for someone going for it and giving up a couple of back points for something like that.
And he took the chance, right? He took the gamble.
Yep.
Final 6-2 in favor of Plymouth State at 184, and they now go up in the match, I believe, 23-17.
Little conference. Coach Archambault giving a official piece of his mind.
Yeah.
Looking away in disbelief.
I care a lot about the kids, and sometimes it's tough to see opportunities taken away from them.
Yep.
You know. But at the end of the day, we need to do more to keep it out of the refs' hands. We'll learn from a lot of these matches and just keep plugging away to get better.
Well, we go to 197 now. Chris Peralt of Plymouth State against Richard Bilodeau of Daniel Webster. Bilodeau on your left.
Chris Peralt is a senior, a rare senior in this meet, from St. Johnsbury Academy in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. Richard Bilodeau is familiar to a lot of locals.
Freshman at Londonderry.
Londonderry High School last year. I believe he was a state champion last year at Londonderry High.
I think he always had trouble running into someone.
Yeah. Chmielewski, I think, a lot of times.
And then this last year it was Barrero.
Oh, Dylan Barrero from Pickerton, who's clearly the best wrestler in the state of New Hampshire.
Yeah, there's a rivalry there between Pickerton and Londonderry. That's a natural rivalry.
Yeah.
So Peralt is actually ranked top 10 in the country right now on every national poll, and we're going to see why.
Yeah, look at this. Wow.
The ref misses a potential pin right there. But Richard had a very successful high school career. He was a two-time New England placer.
So you believe your guy was already pinned, but the ref missed it?
Well, he's not saying that, Tom.
Potentially.
Potentially.
The ref missed it.
So after being on his back, he's back to his feet and 6-1 deficit.
6-1 deficit, right. What's he got to do, John, to try to get some of those points back?
Richard needs to find his own offense. You know, when you're up against someone as veteran and seasoned as Peralt, who's placed at the regional tournament, gotten it done,
right?
You got to find ways to impose your own will. And he really wrestles mostly Peralt's match, how Peralt wants it. Richard has very strong ties to mixed martial arts. He was a national champ in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
They go hand in hand, don't they, with some of the moves and some of the...
Yeah, he does well making sure.
The body discipline?
Yeah.
What's he studying, Coach?
Psychology and getting involved with some business stuff, too, as well for minors.
Well...
Yeah, he's just a little overmatched here.
Definitely overmatched. There's no question about it. We are in the first period. He's already down 8-1.
Give him credit, though. He's, a year ago he was running around Londonderry. Now he's on a college mat.
Wrestling. Yeah, college mat against a tough
top 10
almost
opponent.
Regional national opponent. Yeah, exactly.
And Richard last week at the Ithaca Invitational was one of the few freshmen in the tournament that placed. He pinned his opponent in the quarterfinals, advanced to the semis, where he had a couple tougher matches after that, but a sixth-place finish was really good.
Did you go out the night before to Ithaca and stay over in Ithaca the night before?
We did, yeah. It was a 2-day tournament. So we had.
And how'd they do the weigh-ins over a 2-day tournament like that? What did they do?
You make your scratch weight class the first day.
Yep.
And then the second day you have a 1 pound allowance.
So there's no binging out there.
No.
Yeah.
You got to be ready right off the scales and
1 pound allowance.
Yep. And every opponent in that bracket's pretty tough.
Well, he survived the first period. He's down 8-1, but he didn't get pinned or lose by technical fault yet here as we start the second period.
You got Peralt knocking on the door of a major decision. If you win by 8 or more, you get the major decision and 4 points on the scoreboard.
4 instead of
3.
Okay.
It's for a regular decision,
right.
3 points. For a major decision, which is 8 point or more deficit, 4. 5 points for that technical fall.
And 6 for the outright pin, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And there's his takedown. Yep. Richard kind of twisted up there.
Well, he's hanging tough.
Just saw Concord's Mark Hoyt fly by the screen, 106-pounder, senior 106. Pretty rare to see. But
Wow, it's senior at 106.
Yeah.
Almost in the stand. They're going to bring it back in. 10-2. He scored some points. He scored 1 point. On the escape?
Yep. Yeah, he was able to get out.
See, I'm getting there.
Yep.
I'm getting there.
Yep. He's looking for that re-attack on the edge. He just needs to do more of that offense in the middle of the mat. Both of his shot attempts were
Locked
near the
up
edge.
here.
Under a minute to go. First in the second period of the 197 match. We've got one more after this.
The heavyweights.
Yep.
Ankle to ankle now.
Yeah, we haven't seen this move much in this match, in any of the matches. What was that? What did he do?
Well,
it's a one way to kind of have a defense where you go over the top.
Yep.
Peralt was in on his legs really deep, and then Richard draped over, and they end up in an ankle to ankle position, which whoever gets height will usually end up coming out on top and getting the takedown.
Yeah.
But at that time, the ref thought that neither guy was really advancing, so we called a stalemate. So they restarted.
So it restarted 10-2 with 10 seconds left in the second period. Uh-oh. That is a big move by Peralt.
Very late in the period, too, which, you know.
But you don't want to give up.
Yeah.
You don't want to give up when people steal periods like that.
Yep.
So that's 6 points that, you know, hopefully probably could have been avoided if we just stayed in decent position.
And all of a sudden, defensive position, you almost stalled your way to get out of the period.
And all of a sudden, you're down 14 points.
Yeah. Now you're down 14, which is huge.
Now, if you look in the front row, Tom, a little bit hard to see if we can get a shot. Next to the man, well, yeah. Chris Rowlett there, next to the man in the green. Nashua High School Hall of Fame member.
Yes.
New England champion in 1980 at 97 pounds. He used to have that weight class. This is Chris.
This is Chris? Okay.
Yeah, Chris is a federal agent and very, very active in the local wrestling community, coaching a lot of kids at the Boys and Girls Club of all ages.
Okay. That's 18-2. That's it, right?
Heavyweight time.
Heavyweight time is the victory there is Peralt, 18-2.
And that iced up the team victory for Plymouth.
Yeah,
so
they get all those points. And look at this. Here we go with the heavyweights. The match is already decided in terms of team. Now, the individual here, Travis Hughes for Plymouth in the green, Alex Kane for Daniel Webster in the blue and red. And
Alex Kane's from Wakefield, Massachusetts, Wakefield High. Local viewers will know Travis Hughes, Tom. He's from Milford High School.
Okay.
Milford High School had a great career there, twice state runner-up.
Coached by Dana Barassa at Milford.
Yep. Dana Barassa is a great wrestling coach, sort of an institution around here.
Definitely.
Travis is a wonderful kid. I'm told he played football at Plymouth State this year as a freshman, but left the team early to start wrestling.
How about that? What position? Nose tackle?
I'm not sure what he plays.
I would say he's
I think offensive line, I believe.
Line, he's got to be on the line, yeah.
Yeah, and I spoke with Travis before the dual meet. He is a great kid. I remember wrestling with him most of last year over at Gate City. Really hard worker, nice kid. Plymouth and Coach Sheeting are very lucky to have him part of that program.
One of those kids, Tom, who goes against typecast, kind of like Wilson Pellet. Just a gentle giant, you know.
Yep.
You know, fierce competitor on the mat, but off the mat, sort of kind and accommodating and easygoing.
And Alex Kane he's the jokester on the team. He definitely he almost never says anything serious, which is great. You need a character like that on the team.
You need somebody to loosen everybody up and take their mind off things.
And he's not very accustomed to heavyweight. You know, he usually wrestled 195, 220 in high school.
Oh, did he?
So that's something that we're going to look to slim him down as time goes on, and eventually I think he'd fit at the 197-pound weight class much better.
And then maybe you bring in Stephen Dwight as a heavy. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that would be ideal.
And he can bang with anybody at that weight.
Right.
Well, you have settled in. It's been over a year and a few months. You've settled in. You know exactly what you want, and it's not a lot of mystery left in your program. You know exactly what you got and where you want to go.
Yeah, we finally laid out that foundation. We have a couple, guys that we can really build on, and some young talent and hard workers. And we have all the resources. We have a gym, we got mats, competition mat, everything we need.
Oh, the wrestling room at Daniel Webster College looks great. I mean,
yeah, that was a nice summer project me and Coach Goptier did.
Where is that?
It's actually just like a couple 100 yards away from the main college. It's over on 85 Perimeter Road.
Oh, okay.
It's an airplane hangar. Daniel Webster owns the airplane, so it's there's a hangar, and then there's these 2 other rooms, and we have 2 different wrestling rooms, which is pretty cool.
And that's where you practice?
Yep. We got a bunch of toys and tires and weights and stuff.
So you're able to use that at your own disposal. You don't have to worry about the practice time for the boys and girls, for the men's and women's basketball teams.
Correct. Yeah,
that's big.
It's great.
That's very big for you.
Everybody wins in that situation.
Yep. Very, very interesting.
So Alex is actually one of the historically had one of the best careers in Wakefield high school history.
Really?
Yep. I think he had somewhere
around.
As
a heavyweight?
He wrestled mostly 195, 220.
Okay.
I believe he had 200 wins or something close to that.
That's incredible.
Won a couple Division III state titles. 2-time New England qualifier.
We hope you're enjoying this Nashua ETV broadcast of Plymouth State against Daniel Webster College. Tom King along with John Archibald, Joe LaPlante. We are in the final match of what is going to be a Plymouth State victory. They've already clinched it with a 25-17 lead. We're in the heavyweight division.
Second period.
Low scoring match. They've all been low scoring.
There's been actually a few high ones.
Yeah, but 3 out of the last 4 have been pretty low scoring.
Right. And that can kind of tend to happen. You have the lighter weights where they're a lot quicker, a lot of energy, action, and then as you get a little bit heavier in the upper weights, there's more muscle and moving. And
I don't know, as I get heavier, not a lot of movement. It's going to be tough for me to get out of this chair, as a matter of fact. Here at the Nashua ETV studios, we're watching it with you at home on tape delay.
A little dangerous there for Travis.
Also in the stands is Salem coach Keith Dearden.
Up on that top there,
row, He brought some Salem high school wrestlers and his son Trevor Dearden.
This was
who had one of the historical best high school careers in New England history, probably.
Really?
Oh yeah, from Salem High.
Yep.
So this is
3-time champ.
This was circled on the calendar by a lot of wrestling communities around the Southern New Hampshire region.
Oh yeah, people want to be here. It's the faces you see at at states and at Lowell holidays.
Yep.
The big events.
I know the Timberlane coaches were also in attendance.
And they've had a storm.
Now, will you be at Lowell holidays talking to kids, Coach?
Of course I will be.
And what are the rules? Can you approach anybody you want?
I should know all the ins and outs. I know that typically you have to wait until their competition day is done. So while they're still, in the tournament, the NCAA doesn't let you go in there and kind of having discussions with them, putting any kind of pressure. They should be focusing on their performance and their team, and then when they're done, you can talk to the seniors.
Double stall.
Double stall, so point for each.
Makes you wonder what's the point, right, Tom?
Yeah.
If you're each going to get a point,
then why award it, right?
It's kind of like you see in boxing when the ref sometimes says, "Come on, guys, action, right?" That's really probably all it would take. I don't mean to be critical, but you wonder.
Rather than make the call, warn them and say, "Okay, look, enough."
At least if it's not going to affect the match score,
right?
And it's not.
You're right. It's not going to affect the match score. The match is already decided. So
there were a lot of coaches I saw at the match Saturday night. I did see Adam Langloy from Nashua South High School. I did see Coach Sullivan from the new coach at Nashua North High School.
Oh, really?
Yep. Coach Jeff Arbogast retired from coaching after last season.
And the new coach at Nashua North?
His name is Sean Sullivan. He's actually Coach Arbogast's brother-in-law.
There you go.
did his high school wrestling, I think, at Wilmington.
That's where he coached. I'm not sure if that's where he wrestled.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he coached out there for a couple years and has been helping out with his brother-in-law. He's a great guy.
So, yeah, he's taking over the program at Nashua North. Of course, a couple of years ago, just a few days ago from this, I was up at Concord for the NH NCAA Hall of Fame. A couple of years ago, a big wrestling moment for Nashua with Paul Bellavance being inducted into the NCAA Hall of Fame.
Paul Bellavance really is,
he's Mr. Wrestling in that.
Yeah.
He's the
you were
father.
jokingly calling me that, but I don't know that much
the
about wrestling.
I called Paul the father of Nashua wrestling.
He certainly is. He's the father, the grandfather. If there's a God, I mean, he's the guy. And he invented it.
And you know what? When he was asked to start it, he didn't know a thing about it.
That's what I hear. I hear he's self-taught with a book.
Self-taught. Yep. I sat down in his living room a couple of years ago and talked with him. He lives right around. He lives very near me, and I was able to just walk over there, just spend an afternoon with him. And boy, it was one of the better afternoons in terms of interviews and talking to somebody. That I've done, and it was great to see him get inducted into the Hall of Fame.
The legend is he was a long-term, he was an assistant on the Buzz Harvey staff.
Yeah, he was a football assistant.
And then when they replaced Coach Harvey, he wanted the football job. It didn't work out for him.
Right.
And he decided he wanted to make a mark somewhere, and he picked up wrestling. And he influenced a lot of young lives in Nashua, including Chris Rowlett, who's right between the bodies there.
Yep.
He coached Chris Rowlett to a New England championship. There he is there.
You find, John, that coaches, when they get involved in wrestling, stay with it for a long time?
I think so. The connections that you can really build with the kids and in the character that you can teach through this sport is almost second to none. Just the discipline and the impact it can have. There's been a lot of kids that people would probably give up on, and then they find the sport of wrestling, and the coach can connect with them and really change their lives, which is what most coaches probably hope to do.
Sure.
3-2 in favor of Plymouth here. 19 seconds left in the match. And in the entire match, as a matter of fact, here in the heavyweight division, Daniel Webster College, Alex Kane against Travis Hughes for Plymouth.
A couple of Bedford wrestlers in the front row there. And here we go. That's it.
Looking for the point. That'll do it. The final 3-2. And the final in the match, as they get awarded 3 points, I think, for that win. 28-17.
They do, yep. That'll finish
is the final.
28-17 Plymouth State.
And that'll do it. It was an education for me, but it's also, I think, a major story, sports story in this city in terms of having college wrestling. It's great to have it. It's great to have this match here in Nashua. It's great that we were able to bring it to you on Nashua ETV, and I think it was great to do it in this fashion, where we can educate people more by having you, John, do this on a tape delay basis. This was great. So,
absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. And Joe, as always, anything with wrestling involved, we want you here. So it's great to have you both. I'm Tom King, John Archibald, the coach of Daniel Webster College. Joe LaPlante, the wrestling guru of Nashua. 28-17, the final score. Pete Johnson, our executive producer. Tim O'Neill on camera. Daniel Webster wins it. Good night, everybody.
Good night.